Welcome to our virtual Justice on the Block Legal Information Clinic. This clinic is part of the virtual series, Know Your Children's Education Rights. In this session, we will talk about homeless youth, which are also called unaccompanied youth. My name is Stephanie Johnson. I'm the senior attorney in the Tallahassee office of Legal Services of North Florida. And with me is Cheryl Sadler, our educational advocate with Legal Services in North Florida. So first, a couple of quick housekeeping notes. This video provides legal information and should not be considered legal advice. This video does not create an attorney-client relationship or substitute for legal advice that you've already been given. You may have defenses that we haven't discussed here, so seeking out an attorney for legal help is always advisable. So let's get on with it. Cheryl, so federal education law has a number of rights for youth who are homeless. In 2022, the Florida legislature passed a law with some additional rights. So just for background, can you update us on who is covered?
Absolutely. Federal law actually has multiple definitions of homeless youth, but for education purposes, there are two kinds: those who are with their families and those who are not. So, an unaccompanied youth is simply a youth who is not in the physical custody of a parent or guardian, not in foster care, and not in any kind of institutional care like a hospital. So, it includes youth who have run away, who have been forced to leave home, or, and this does happen, uh, youth who have been left behind when their parents have left the area. So in 2020, there were about 7,000 of these unaccompanied youth in Florida.
So why is this relevant to youth in foster care?
Well, unfortunately, although youth are taken care of while they're in foster care, many youth in Florida and in foster care age out and become homeless, and other youth in foster care go in and out of homelessness. So there's a lot of similarities between these two groups of kids, especially with older youth who are living in group homes. And some of the law's provisions are specifically for these youth who have aged out of foster care. They just happen to be in this law that's sort of about unaccompanied youth.
Okay. And what does the new Florida law do for students who are in K through 12?
This is a very positive thing that has come out of the legislature. The law requires school districts to certify unaccompanied youth who are between ages 16 and 18. So the certification is sort of a gateway to getting benefits. The district has to give the unaccompanied youth a signed card, like the size of a driver's license, that has information on their rights and benefits. And this card can also be accepted by healthcare providers as proof of their unaccompanied status, so that basically they don't have to have anyone sign off on their healthcare. And that's a big deal if you're living on your own. So a student who is unaccompanied, and that can mean sleeping on a friend's couch, sometimes called couch surfing, could be living in their car, in a campground. What they need to do is to ask the school who the homeless liaison is. Could be called the McKinney-Vento liaison, and sometimes schools call this program by other names to avoid the word homeless. So sometimes you have to ask more than once. So it could be like families in transition. And that liaison should be able to certify the youth. There's a couple of forms they fill out, you sign the card. Now, if a youth is not in school or can't find the homeless liaison, which certainly can happen, there are three other kinds of people who can do this certification under this law. And they are the director of an emergency shelter program, the director of a runaway or homeless youth center or transitional living program, or a continuum of care lead agency. So all of these, it's the same process, the same form. So basically, you do whatever's easiest. And we will put links to some of these programs in the chat.
So what are the rights and benefits that a youth would get when they become certified?
And this is the great part about this law. So first of all, it waives fees for copies of your birth certificate, and for unaccompanied youth and youth who age out of foster care. And as you know, as an attorney, Steph, having that birth certificate is just huge when you try to access any kind of government service. You need an ID to do almost anything, and you need a birth certificate to get your ID. So this kind of ends that crazy circle. And second, the youth can also get an ID card from the Department of Motor Vehicles. So, and not a driver's license, it's kind of another form of state ID, which again is the first step to getting any kind of other assistance. And third, and this is again the healthcare benefit, not only can a youth make their own healthcare decisions, but they can also make healthcare decisions for their child if their child is with them. So they're the custodial parent, even if the youth is under 18. And, if you're not 18 in the state of Florida, you really aren't allowed to do very much for yourself. So this moves a lot of barriers. And then finally, and this is something that we at Legal Services could certainly help youth with, it allows that unaccompanied youth to petition the court to be able to make all legal decisions for themselves, like signing a lease, which is entering a contract. And usually you can't do any of that if you're under 18.
So, and just one other really important thing about getting that ID is that it'll allow you to get to apply for food stamps, which
yes,
unaccompanied youth will need. All right. So what about students who are in higher education?
Yeah, and we don't really think about kids who are homeless or kids in foster care necessarily going to higher education, but Florida has a lot of programs that support this. And I do want to note that tuition is free for many students who are in foster care. So there's some tweaks, and I don't want to go deeply into that, but this law expands that by requiring colleges and universities to have someone there to help former foster youth and unaccompanied youth with those fee exemptions. And this is huge. This is not going to sound huge, but it is. It requires a college and university to actually keep that paperwork on file so they don't have to ask the youth for it every semester, which is what used to happen. And it was very frustrating. The tuition exemption means that homeless students don't pay tuition or fees in district workforce education programs. So that could be like a career academy, Florida colleges, or state universities. It's not new, but having somebody to help you through the process is new and very needed. So equally important, once a student is determined to be an unaccompanied youth, the institution has to consider that youth to be unaccompanied or homeless until it gets conflicting information. So it's like once you're in, you are in. They're not coming back to you every few months and saying, well, are you still homeless? Give us some more paperwork. Again, it's just smooths the process, or that's the idea.
Okay. Are there any other benefits other than these?
Yes. So there is a program that's pretty cool. It's called Keys to Independence, and it is currently available to foster youth, but now it's available also to unaccompanied youth. So this program, I have to tell you, Steph, I love this. It helps youth get driving instruction, it helps them get cars, and it helps them get insurance. So there are a couple of requirements, right? So you have to be a citizen of the US or a legal resident of Florida, and you have to be completing secondary education, or employed at least part-time, or attending college or university at least part-time, or you have to have a disability that prevents you from doing those things. And again, we'll put a link to this program in the chat. This is one of those programs that started actually in Florida and now is expanding to a number of other states. So, and the youth that I know who participated just think it's amazing.
Okay, well, it sounds amazing, and it sounds like it's a great program, and we'll see how it goes in Florida. Thanks a lot, Cheryl. I appreciate your time.
All right. Take care.
Bye.